Breaking fucking news. I have to give my respects to Endeavor. Alright, so I'm going to just start off this video by saying that. I give my respects for Endeavor, and I'm going to be jumping around in order a little bit, but Endeavor has finally understood something important when it comes to his family, and especially Natsuo, and he answers why he did not save him in the previous chapter when he was captured by the villain ending. And he made that whole dramatic scene where he flew out of the chauffeur's car and just sped towards Natsuo just to stop and let Shoto, Bakugo, and Midoriya do all the heavy lifting while he just stood there staring at Natsuo. But before I get into that, go plus Ultra and smash that subscribe button. It lets me know that you're rocking with the content that I put out here on this channel. And without further ado, let's get into this review. Now, like I stated earlier, I'm going to be jumping around when it comes to this channel because there's certain things that I want to address before, but I will cover everything that has happened and that was given to us in this chapter. Now, Endeavor expresses that he believed, well, Endeavor explains to us and explains to Natsuo and Bakugo and everybody basically within earshot why it was that he did not go into action as the #1 hero to save Natsuo, a civilian, but also save his son. Okay, because that was one of the focal points of this chapter, and it needs to be expressed beforehand because that was my major concern with the last chapter, in which case I spoke about how Endeavor froze in the line of duty. And as the #1 hero, you just can't do that. I understand that's your son, but you are just not allowed to do that. But he expressed that he believed that it would further drive a rift between Natsuo and himself if he was to save him. And I can see this happening. Endeavor isn't stupid by any means. He acts very impulsive. Like I said earlier, when he initially saw that his son was in the hands of a villain, he shot out of the moving car to go after him. That is what I would expect, and I assume that is what you would expect a parent to do. If they saw that their child was in danger, they're going to put their life on the line. They're going to risk it all, despite their safety, no matter the circumstance, in order to ensure that their child is alive and well. When he initially froze, I gave him a hard-ass time because, you know, when I assessed the situation and from what we gathered from Endeavor, is that when he is speaking to Natsuo, he explains that he did not want him to hate him even more, and he thought that he was going to just never talk to him again after that point if he was to save him. What I got from that is that Endeavor didn't want to save Natsuo and feel as though that the only reason Natsuo is being nice to him or forgiving him is out of a sense of obligation, or that Natsuo owed a debt to him because he was the one to save him. You see what I'm saying? I'm sure if at any point in time when Hirokoshi was writing this, he took that into consideration. He didn't want to force the matter any further than what it needed to be. I assume that the dinner that they had was forced enough for Natsuo, considering the fact, if you remember from about 2 chapters ago, I believe it was 2 chapters ago, Natsuo couldn't even make it to the dinner. He got up and he was like, Fuyumi, thank you for the food. But, you know, is this it? Is this all you wanted? You just wanted me to show up? Like, that, I've done that, now I have to go because I cannot sit in the presence of Endeavor. So, when Endeavor made this statement to Natsuo, you see Natsuo's face, and he just looks shocked, but it's like, Natsuo, can you, I'm not saying you have to forgive him, but can you really sit there and look shocked that he said that? That if he saved you, that you wouldn't disown him completely? When you couldn't even make it through maybe an hour, a 2-hour dinner? It wasn't even just you and Endeavor. It was you, your brother Shoto, your sister Fuyumi, Bakugo, and Midoriya. Like, Endeavor wasn't even talking at this point. You just couldn't sit in his presence. You couldn't even sit in his presence. So it's not too far off to think that if he saved you, you would have this sense of, damn, now I owe him. I can't owe this man anything, and you would just distance yourself completely from him. Okay, Hugo, I understand all that, but, like, that wasn't the main focal point of this chapter. What the fuck happened with the villain ending? Alright, well, while all this is going on, Endeavor is speaking to Natsuo, and you have Bakugo standing right next to him, because, you know, Bakugo is now with Endeavor and Natsuo. Midoriya is still with the civilians that he had saved. He utilized Air Force and Black Whip. He saved the civilians. He's standing over there near them. The villain ending has been taken care of and captured in a wall of ice by Shoto, who managed to solo him. Let's just keep that in mind. What I picked up from this is that ending was never really a true threat to anyone or Endeavor, even without knowing the details of Endeavor when he captured the villain ending back in the day before he served that 7-year prison sentence. I'm just going to assume that it was an open and closed case. Like, Endeavor didn't expend any necessary energy to capture him. It was probably done and over with within an hour. But what you really see in this panel, and what's interesting to me is that when I'm reading this for the second time, and I'm reading it on my tablet. The first time I read it on my phone, but this time I'm reading it on my tablet, and I'm able to get the full visual of the panel that is given to us. And what you see is that Ending is captured in a wall of ice, but when you see Shoto holding Ending, he's holding him with the left side of his body. Now, if you're unfamiliar or you've never paid attention to it, Shoto has always reserved the left side of his body for fire and the right side of his body for ice. You can go back to the first season of My Hero Academia if you want to reference it from an anime perspective, right? He's always reserved the right side of his body. That's when you only saw him using just ice. It always came from the right side of his body. When you see him during the exam, when he's fighting Midoriya, he then activates his fire for the first time, and he's using it from the left side of his body. And then from then on, you can go back to the Stain fights. Left side is always fire, right side is always ice. In this panel, he is using ice from the left side of his body, and it got me thinking, could he always do that? Like, is that something he could always do, and he's just never done before? Or is it something now he can consciously do at will? It has me thinking that, could he potentially be able to go into a full ice mode, right? Encase his whole entire body in
Splash.
ice, have ice armor, utilize ice from both sides of his body at once, or vice versa with fire. Could he do a complete fire mode and utilize fire solely from both halves of his body, just like this? Because he's switching now, which is really good, but I want to see if he can do it holistically. But that's something that we can look forward to at a later date. Hopefully Hirokoshi incorporates that into the manga or into the anime for us to see. Moving on, fast forward, something very powerful that I want to mention towards the ending, no pun intended. After Ending is captured and the police come on scene, Endeavor is talking to the detective, and the detective mentions that with the villain Ending, the drug Trigger was found in his system or on his person. Depends about how you read, what translation you're reading, right? The detective is talking to Endeavor, and at this point he states that they've gathered the majority of the drug from off the streets, but there is still some floating around. So this could be a coincidence that the villain Ending had some on his person, or this could be a strategic setup, because the detective also mentions that this is the second time that you specifically have been targeted by these villains. First it was the Glass villain, and now it's Ending that has targeted you, both villains from your past. Now, this brings up something very interesting, right? Because is this something that we should just be able to consider territory that comes with being the #1 hero, right? Did All Might have to face these same things where villains were challenging him left and right? I don't see that to be the case. Villains quaked when All Might came on the scene. They weren't just out there challenging him. The only person I could see challenging him is All For One. But for some reason, they challenge an Endeavor now that he's the #1. I just don't see that to be the case. If you remember back from the anime called Afro Samurai, they were gunning after the #1 headband. You know what I mean? Like, that was a rite of passage. Oh, you're the person with the #1 headband? Well, I'm going to take you on. Is that something that we need to consider with Endeavor? Is this something that's just going to pop up all the time and his family's always going to be in danger? That's something that I took into consideration when I was going to the end of this chapter, right? Because the last part of this chapter is you see Endeavor apologizing to Fuyumi and Natsuo, and he states to them that he is going to have a separate house built for them. By them, he means Natsuo, Fuyumi, and Rei, and I'm assuming Shoto whenever he moves out of the dorm, right? Because right now Shoto's in the dorm, so he's not included in this, but Natsuo, Fuyumi, and Rei. He wants them to live in this house and have a welcoming environment for when their mother returns. He begins, and this is, I'm so proud of this man Endeavor, he begins distancing himself from his family as opposed to trying to force himself to be around them and hoping that they will all welcome him back with open arms. Years upon years of physical, emotional, and psychological abuse that has happened by the hands of him or by not the hands of him, just the sheer neglect, you see what I'm saying, of him as a father has built Natsuo and Shoto up to this point of sheer resentment, has built Rei up to not trusting him and fearing Endeavor, has built Toya up to just, well, wherever the fuck Toya is, I mean, is he dead? Is he alive? I personally think, you know what I'm saying? Look. Toya, he's not dead. That is my personal opinion on this. There's no way. But if you look at all this is factored into why they do not like Endeavor minus Fuyumi. But the fact that at the beginning Endeavor was trying to mosey his way back into these niggas' lives is like, no, what are you doing? Why are you trying to be a father now? I have been grown, raised, and lived without you ever paying any notice to me. You're not just gonna come back in my life now that you have a change of heart, a second wind, and now that you want to be a father. Real talk, we were just test experiments for you to build the perfect hero to surpass All Might. So why are you trying to care now that All Might has withered away to nothing and he can't use his quirk and he's retired? We remember when he had this whole fit because now he's the #1 hero, but the only reason he was the #1 hero is because All Might retired and he could no longer use his quirk. It was then you saw the change of heart in him. So in retrospect, nothing would have changed if All Might could still use One for All and Endeavor was inevitably the #2 hero. That's just my 2 cents on this. But it's in my personal opinion, this is the best case scenario for Endeavor, and this is where he needs to be. The Todoroki family knows that he is trying. That's the important thing that we need to take away from this. Natsuo, Fuyumi, and Shoto know that Endeavor is trying to be a good father. He's trying to make amends. He's trying to basically beg for forgiveness without begging for forgiveness, but he also understands that they are still mad as shit at him, minus Fuyumi, of course. They know that he is there, they know that he is trying, but he is putting some distance between them, and at the end of the day, they know he's there for them. Like, I know I just repeated myself like 3 times, but that's really the main takeaway from this, these final pages of this chapter. And the final point that I want to talk about that I didn't mention early in the chapter is that Endeavor discusses Toya and takes responsibility for Toya and his death. Okay? Call a spade a spade. Now, he doesn't say that he killed him directly, but he says, and I quote, "I did fail to take responsibility. I ran away with Toya too. It's as if I'm the one who killed him." End quote. Now, what does that mean? Endeavor believes in his heart of heart that he is solely responsible for the death of Toya. Now, Horikoshi, if he has not proved anything to you or to me or to anybody, is that he is very particular with his wording. He tries to avoid plot holes at all costs. He says death. He did not say disappearance, because that would have been different. He does not say destruction. He doesn't say downfall. He uses the word death. We've seen flashbacks of them burying Toya. Now, off the top of my head, to the best of my ability, don't quote me, please don't. Tell me in the comment section. We never saw a body at the flashbacks of the funeral. We never did. I think it was closed casket or open casket. We just never saw Toya's body. They said death. They buried a body. Assuming it's a young body, there's no way he was in allegiance with Twice at this point to bury a fake body. Could he have joined the League of Villains at such a young age and they set up a fake double? Possibly. Unlikely, but possibly. I mean, think flashback to Naruto. Obito died very young. He was like 10, 11, 12, one of those ages. But no, that's a completely different scenario. Zetsu saved him, so they never even went back for the funeral. They didn't even bury a casket for Obito. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring that up. I'm done with my notes. I'm just rambling at this point. It's the end of the chapter. It's the end of the video. I'm just giving my personal thoughts and 2 cents. But I don't know. Toya was considered to have greater power than even Endeavor. And if you just look at the hierarchy of flames, blue flames, no matter how rare they are flames that burn harder than white flames. Just off of that alone. I don't see how we even have this conversation anymore that Dabi is Toya. Anime is not complicated. Figuring out that Tobi was Obito was not complicated. At least not to me. I didn't believe this man for a second to be Madara Uchiha. There's no way you're going to get me to believe an old-ass man is running around moving like that. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's no way. He only had one eye. He was only using one eye, right? There was nothing to even debate with me about. So the fact that Endeavor made those statements long ago when we saw the flashbacks of him training Shoto that Toya had even greater power than his own, I I was like, okay, well, Endeavor, you have red flames. Yes, he can make his flames blue, but that's not something he can maintain. You see what I'm saying? Dabi does maintain blue flames. Well, blue flames burn hotter than red flames. And Endeavor said that Toya's power was greater than his own. So, what is there really to even talk about? But that's all I have for y'all today. If you made it to the end of the video, comment down below what you think. If you are new, go plus ultra and smash that subscribe button. It lets me know that you're rocking with the content that I put out here on this channel. Like the video, share the video, comment on the video, all that fancy stuff. And like always, keep it safe and rabbit tight. I'm out.